So the third property we have is called as atomic cell values. Whenever we are saying atomic cell values, this is something we have said in our exercise 1 in week 1, that we have skill code, whether it should have a multiple values or it should have only one values. So whenever we are saying that atomic value means our relationship, in order to make it valid, we should have only single value. So if there is a multiple value, we have to identify how we can make our table valid, whether we have to create a new table or whether we have to use a primary key as a foreign key in another table. So if you remember the skill code, you're supposed to use employee number in a skill table. Okay. So whatever you had in exercise 1, it was just an assumption. Even if you haven't mentioned that, it's fine because you didn't know about the properties of relation at that point. Okay. It is just an assumptions. So whatever you have done are acceptable. Now something related to consistency of attribute values, which means we are referring to a domain. We set the domain or set of acceptable or allowable values. So now let's look at the employee or DOB. So in order to have an employee, we need to set our values to certain ranges. So we can say that whatever values which are less than 40, they are not acceptable. All the ranges should be greater than, should be greater than 90/40. Okay, so it's less than 90/40, which means you will not have an employee who are above, who was born in 1940, because maybe your company is established few years back, so you will not have an employee who are very old. Okay, because majority of the people they retired in their 60s or 70s, some of them. Now uniqueness of tuple. As we said, we are using a primary key here, which means each record will be uniquely identified by these IDs. Even some of the values may be repetitive, for example here, but still it is uniquely identified through the primary key. Now we have something called as a relation schema. We have looked at the tabular format earlier. Now we are focusing on relation schema. So whenever we saying the relation schema, it consists of a name and its description. This is what make it as a relation schema. Okay, which is consist of a name of the table or relation and relation name. When we are saying the description, we are referring to its attributes and its keys. Okay. So how we can write a relation schema? So whenever we have relation schema, there is no standards, but we are following this specific one, which I will explain in this slide. So first of all, we need to have a relation name and it should be uppercase. So this specific table we are considering here, which is a department. So we will use a name of a relation as a department, which should be capital. The second property here is that, or second rule to follow here is that attributes should be initial uppercase. So in order to write a relation after we have determined a department name, we need to have parentheses, opening and closing. So I'm starting with opening one because I haven't listed all the attributes yet. So it will be department code, then department name, school code, employee number, department address, or department extension. And then we will close our parenthesis. Once we are done, we need to identify two keys here, primary key and foreign key. Whenever we have primary key, we have to make sure it should be underlined. So our primary key here is department code, so it should be underlined. Now for the foreign keys, it should be bold or italic. Both of them are acceptable. So as we can look at here in this specific diagram, in this specific table, we have employee number as a foreign keys. So we have to make sure we write it as a italic. So it should be italic, or you have to make it as a bold. Okay. So you have to bold it, or you can make it as an italic.